reality for a lot of people for a long time. I know that a lot of us right now are focused on Donald Trump and his Twitter. But Donald Trump is not America's first racist. He's not America's first misogynist. He's not the first transphobe America has produced. What we need to focus in on are all the baby Trumps that are here in Syracuse. We need to remember Fitzpatrick fighting for his right to imprison to solitary confined children.
Yes.
And part of why we're gathered here today is to remember the name of Heather Heyer, who died fighting for civil rights yesterday. I've heard so many times people arguing that if they were in Nazi Germany, they would have fought back. If they were in the antebellum South, they would have fought against slavery. If you're at home today, you're not part of that fight, because that's what we're doing right now.
Yes.
We chose this place to gather a year ago because William Jerry Henry, 100 years ago, Syracuse, hundreds of white folks came together when they tried to imprison him under the Fugitive Slave Act. Hundreds of white people put their bodies between black people and men with guns. Several died, breaking him out of jail. That's the spirit of Syracuse. Syracuse was once the heart of American abolition, and that's what we need to return to. Now, one of the last posts that Heather Heyer posted on her Facebook was, if you aren't outraged, you aren't paying attention. Now, a lot of you aren't going to like this, but we aren't paying attention a lot. Now, we've had rallies out here about once a month for the past year and a half. You weren't always out here, and I understand. It's hard to be constantly fighting, but we need to show up for one another. You need to come out next weekend and the weekend after. This fight is not one weekend a year. This fight is every day. The fight to show that Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! What do we want? When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! This country looked away. We haven't confronted the history of racism and slavery in this country. In Germany, the swastika is banned. The architects of Nazi Germany were executed, were hung, spent their lives in jail. Here in America, the architects of the Confederacy became senators and mayors and governors and presidents.
Yes, sir.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! A woman was killed yesterday in Charlottesville's fight to remove a Confederate monument. Think about what that means. A lot of you were arguing before that Donald Trump supporters were fringe, that the alt-right was fringe. Yesterday, hundreds of men with torches walked down the streets of Charlottesville. Nazis throwing up salutes openly down our streets. A month from now, here in Syracuse, the alt-right is planning another rally. A month ago, they had a rally here in Syracuse. Right here downtown. The KKK has been passing out flyers here in Syracuse. this don't see it every day. But for a lot of us, that reality is every single day. That fear is every single day. We are afraid.
Every single day.
And we won't stand for this anymore. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. We started getting messages yesterday asking us if we were going to peacefully protest. Regardless of the fact that every time we've met, we've been peaceful. But what I'll say is this: no justice,
No peace.
no justice,
No peace.
no racist,
Police.
no justice,
No peace.
no justice,
No peace.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Black lives
Matter.
Black lives
Matter.
Black lives
Matter.
Black lives
Matter.
Every single person here who wondered at what point they'd fight back, at what point they'd lay their bodies on the track that led to Auschwitz, now is the time. Right now, just down the street, we have children being held in solitary confinement, children being tortured, and our DA's fighting for his right to do that. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Right here in Syracuse, a former police officer, a serial rapist, Chester Thompson, has assaulted women and is walking out on the street. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
As soon as I found out that Heather Heyer had been murdered, I thought I'd come up here and I'd say her name, but I can't, because we're going to remember her name. We're going to remember the name Heather Heyer, and that's sad, because there are a bunch of names that we're forgetting. There are a bunch of names that we're not saying.
Yes.
Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, This is the reality here in America. We saw Philando Castile executed. We saw the video. An innocent man was killed. And what did we do?
Nothing.
Tamir Rice.
Murder.
We saw him murdered.
12 years old.
What have we done? And what are we going to do? What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Right now, this fight for black and brown lives is not just Terry Maddox, it's not just Sandra Bland. Right now, this country's ramping up its deportation apparatus. We need to remember all of the black and brown folks. This isn't the fight of one weekend on one issue. This is a system. Right here in Syracuse, our children are some of the most poisoned in the country.
Here.
Lead paint in their walls. The highest concentrations in their blood in the country. That's Syracuse. That's a fight we need to fight. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
We can't stop looking away. Heather Heyer died looking at this problem. We need to rise to the occasion. We need to keep showing up. Keep showing up.
Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep showing up.
speaker, Nikita Slade. Nikita organizes with the Worker Center. The Worker Center is engaged in that everyday fight for undocumented folks, for immigrants, for people suffering from wage theft. And these aren't small issues. We live in upstate New York. We're surrounded by farms, and the conditions are horrible. Nikita.
I mean, Hervé has already said a lot of the important things that I think need to be said. And I mean, I feel like I sound really calm today, but I have been fuming in an absolute state of rage. It was James Baldwin, to paraphrase, that he said to be black in this country is to be in a constant state of rage, right? And I think that is especially the case for people of color. But at this point, when we see vile, barbaric, murderous, white supremacists, and let's call them that, fascist, white supremacists. We're not going to use this bullshit milquetoast language of the alt-right. If you have a modicum of decency, if you have even one iota of a piece of a conscience, you should be enraged about what's happening in this country. And I think it's really important to go back to that old labor slogan. This is the question: which side are you on? And this is an especially important question. And this might be controversial, but the most revolutionary thing one can do is to tell the truth. So I'm going to tell the truth. Liberal organizations like the ACLU had the unmitigated goal to provide legal representation for the disgusting white supremacists that organized the rally. That is untenable, and it is completely and utterly unconscious. In a moment where fascists and white supremacists are organized, that's an important point. They are organized, and they are mobilized, and they are activated. To make a choice to represent them is completely and utterly disgusting. We can't continue to be, we can't waver, we can't equivocate on this issue. There should be no platform for fascists and white supremacy. And I know it's common for liberals to say things to the effect of, well, you know, free speech is important. This is a kind of speech that gives them the power and the impetus to murder. We've seen that this isn't just an abstraction. Someone's life has been violently and viciously taken. That is the consequence when you do not take a position in the fight to get rid of and to completely remove oppression. Those are the consequences. The stakes are that high. And don't get it twisted, because we've talked about how the state has been brutally and disgustingly and barbarically murdering black people and other people of color in this country. So don't get it confused. I have no faith that the state should be invested with any kind of power to root out fascism. That's our job. And Hervé implored you to show up, but we have to do more than show up. We have to organize. Because the only way that we are going to get rid of and drive out these disgusting little racist cockroaches is to confront them. earlier, they're giving out flyers, they're recruiting, they're organized, and they're organizing. So we have to be organized. Right? There aren't going to be any saviors. We're not going to get any kind of support or any help from milquetoast politicians. That's not going to happen. The power is going to come from us. It's going to come from the people. Because ain't no power like the power of the people. Because the power of the people. And it's important. Anytime we talk about organizing, we're talking about a broad collective struggle. So, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but there's a lot of people who have been saying it's important for you to talk to your racist family members at Thanksgiving. Excuse my language, they are fucking organized. No conversation at Thanksgiving dinner is going to confront and drive out you little racist cockroaches. It is only going to be when the masses of people pour into the streets, when they are outnumbered 10 to 1, and we drive them out of the cities, we drive them out of the country. So, now don't get it twisted, I'm not saying you shouldn't confront, racists in your everyday life, but I'm saying we have to do more than anything at the level of the individual.
That's right.
Yes.
So, it is imperative, it is important, and as I've said, lives are literally on the line. We need to be organized, and you need to join and support and build up local organizations.
Yes.
And I've been thinking so much about the Jerry Rescue. I've been here at this spot, and I've referenced the Jerry Rescue so much in my short time that I've lived in Syracuse. But I really want us to sit with the lesson of what those comrades did back in the 19th century. I've been doing a little bit of research, and the Anti-Slavery Liberty Party, they were having a convention. They were in the middle of a convention, and they stopped. And in all of their revolutionary, radical, abolitionist fervor, by the thousands, it was 2,000 of them that marched to the jail and broke Jerry out of the jail. Let's think about that. I really want us to sit with that lesson. They didn't say, wait a minute, we're going to do a legislative strategy, we're going to change the Fugitive Slave Act law. They didn't do it. They didn't say, wait, we need to table this for a discussion at the convention. They knew that they were called, and in that moment, they did what was required, and they didn't ask for permission, and they didn't wait, and they didn't cow or bow in the face of what was really, really terrifying. They rose to the occasion, and they did what was necessary. And again, it wasn't just one or two people that went and broke Jerry out of that disgusting, vile-ass prison, that jail. It was them by the thousands. Let us sit with that lesson. It was them rising to the occasion, thousands of them in that moment, that said, damn what the law says. Right? Because they knew that there was a higher law. Right? They knew that they were called the laws of freedom and liberation were much more higher than any kind of disgusting law that was set about by the state. And as everybody said, that is the radical tradition that we are sitting in this city. And we all need to rise to that level, rise to that radical occasion. So again, and it's okay, I'll do a little remix of the old phrase. It's okay for us to agonize, but God damn it, today we are going to organize like never before. And like that old amazing Black Panther and socialist Fred Hampton used to say, peace only if you're willing to fight for it.
We have another speaker come up, Mara from the Jewish Voice for Peace? We're going to have another speaker come up from the Jewish Voice for Peace who'd like to share a few words.
Hello, good people. I represent Jewish Voice for Peace, and what I want to add to what Nikita said is one more message that silence is collusion.
Collusion.
It's been said that the only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for enough good people to do
Nothing.
And nothing is not enough. There is systemic stuff that needs to happen, but there is also personal stuff that needs to happen. It's Sunday. How many of you are going to work tomorrow or to a job? Where are you going to take your Black Lives Matter sign? Where are you going to put it? Who are you going to talk to when they say, "How was your weekend?" These are all opportunities to name it, to say this is not acceptable, this is not my America, this is not where I want to live, and there is no us and them, there are no sides, there is justice for everyone, there is safety for everyone, there is respect for everyone, and there are not sides. It's one boat. If the boat goes down, it takes all of us. So we have to be there together. And especially to people who call themselves white allies, let's make that a little problematic. Does that mean that when it's convenient to me, I show up and say I'm on your side? Or do I say this is my issue? This is not someone else's issue. Black people, Hispanic people, Jews, Arabs, it's all of our issue. We are creating the America we want to live with and we want to be represented by. So I'm going to just sing one song. I'd like you to join me. It's Jane Sapp. She's a civil rights fighter.
Here, would you like a bottle of water?
For many years it goes, we will not turn back, we won't turn around. Try that. We will not turn back, we won't turn around. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. Now, one more time, we will not turn back. We will not turn back, we won't turn around. We'll flood the streets with justice, we are freedom bound. Thank you.
We have another speaker who was there yesterday when Heather Heyer was murdered. She's going to share with us her experience.
Hey, Ida. I would love to see y'all's beautiful faces again. We are going to have occasion again to march against the fascists who are emboldened in this time of a right-wing resurgence in the United States. My name's Katie. I'm with the International Socialist Organization. We are one of many organizations on the local left and on the national left who organize to confront and drive out the fascists. We were there. I was there with comrades from Greensboro, North Carolina, Washington, D.C., and Athens, Ohio, marching in Charlottesville. And I came away with a couple of lessons. First, that the prevailing non-strategy of ignore them and they will go away will not work. Every inch of space we cede to a fascist is space they can build in, space they can recruit from, with their pseudo-class politics, with their appeal to the poor and disfranchised, who are indeed disfranchised in their way. Working people face all kinds of obstacles and oppressions, but we cannot let them fall prey to the bigots and the haters with their completely twisted, evil explanations for why life sucks for working people in this country. We need every liberal, every progressive, every non-Nazi. When fascists show up in your town, every non-Nazi in the streets to drive them out. No more picnics off-site or away. We need to confront them directly because we are safer safer in numbers. And that's one of the things that made yesterday so dangerous in Charlottesville, is we did not have the numbers. We did not have the numbers to drive them out. We did not have our liberal and progressive allies out in force. And that made those folks who were there even more vulnerable in direct confrontation with armed and armored fascist thugs with their weaponized racism. And let's be clear, this is not a speech issue. They don't care about free speech, individual liberty. They don't care. They want you dead. This is not a debate, and this is not a dress rehearsal. It was terrifying yesterday. There were roving bands of fascist thugs in pickup trucks, roaming around the city, picking off whoever they could. They beat up bystanders. They swarmed activists. They assaulted many, and one of them used his car to mow down a line of my comrades, killing a comrade from the Industrial Workers of the World, injuring comrades from the Democratic Socialists of America, and putting an International Socialist Organization comrade in the emergency room. He's still in the hospital today. And injuring so many other citizens of Charlottesville and activists who felt moved to confront these trash who showed up in their town. So confrontation matters, numbers matter, but what also so it matters that we organize. It also matters how we organize. We need to reach out to the greatest number of people possible, people we may disagree with on a variety of other matters, whose politics may not be exactly our politics. I will march with any non-Nazi against a Nazi. So I want to see your face again. No, I don't want the fight against fascism to be restricted to tiny groups of the already woke, the already radicalized, who only talk to each other. I want to see all of y'all at the next rally, and that, by the way, is going to be on September 9th. These white supremacist America First trash are going to show up in our town on September 9th. And if y'all got the chant sheets for the rally, it's got some information about how to plug in and organize with us to stand against them. Because I want to see all of y'all again. Because I don't want to see another Charlottesville. I don't want to see another situation where the fascists feel emboldened to pick us off in small groups, where they feel emboldened to show their bigoted faces in public. I want us to make it completely clear that they have no choice but to go extinct or crawl back under the rocks from under which they came. They are not welcome in our town. Information, definitely get in touch with the organizers, join a group, stand together. We are stronger and safer together. We can drive them out together. Solidarity, y'all.
I just want to echo something that you just said and that Nikita touched upon. This isn't just a left-right divide. This isn't just about Democrat versus Republican. This is about humanity. This is the same country that for years, decades, debated about the ethics of slavery, about whether or not it was reasonable to own another human being. If we are patient, they will do it again, and we will be mired in reasonable debates forever about whether or not undocumented people are human beings, about whether or not you can keep children solitarily confined, about whether or not Black life matters. This system is the one that let Philando Castile's murderer get away. That let Trayvon Martin's murderer get away. That let Tamir Rice's murderer get away. Black life matters. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. We will not be reasonable.
No!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
Incrementally, we have to be happy that Trayvon Martin's murderer was arrested. He was tried, and then he was let go. We got quiet when Philando Castile's murderer was arrested and tried, and then let go. We cannot be so easily appeased. Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Right here in this city, a woman was brutally assaulted in front of her newborn baby. This is the narrative the police would have us believe. After giving a natural birth, she came home to find her daughter was missing. She called the police. The police officer who shows up says that she wanted to engage in consensual sex after several hours of a natural birth. Other women came forward and said, he assaulted me too. Where is he now?
On the streets.
He's free. He owns businesses here in Syracuse. That's the city we live in. Black lives matter. What do we want? Justice. If we want to show this community, if we want to show ourselves that we care about minority rights, that we care about women's rights, that we aren't misogynists, monsters, and racists, then we need to fight for these victims. Trickle-down economics is bullshit, but trickle-down racism, trickle-down misogyny, it's coming from the highest office in the land.
Yes.
We can't stand by for this. Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Hey, hey, ho, ho, Nazi scum has got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, Nazi scum has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Nazi scum has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Nazi scum has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Nazi scum has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Nazi scum has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Nazi scum has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Nazi scum has got to go.
I'm going to have another speaker come up. Hasmick from the Peace Council, would you please step forward? There's a donation jar going around for BLM. What we use the money for is legal support for the victims of police violence. Please feel free to contribute. Please remember to like the page and stay engaged.
So I've been trying to think over the past couple days about some of the language that's come out about what happened in Virginia, and some news articles saying that violence erupted at what point during the rally. And I found myself thinking that that rally itself is violence.
Yes!
We think about violence as a moment in time, as a spectacle, instead of thinking about violence as slow and daily. Thinking about the fact that SPD right there, blocks from us, is violence. Thinking about the fact that all of the rallies, the anti-Sharia, quote-unquote, Islamophobic rally that took place in downtown Syracuse earlier this summer is violence. The rally in support of Trump that happened in April of 2016 was violence. Thinking about G4S, the company blocks from us over here that has investments in private prisons in the U.S., that has investments in Palestinian apartheid, is violence. We need to think about how we're talking about what violence is, where it happens. We need to think about the fact that what happened in Virginia was the product of neoliberalism, of capitalism, of structural racism. It was not the consequence of just one president. That didn't just happen. This has always been happening. That's not to downplay how Trump has emboldened his legions of white supremacist supporters. It's not to downplay the fact that he said that violence took place on many sides, and that's a tactic of oppressors all over the world to gaslight victims, to blame victims and say that they are responsible for their own And I am so wary of talking about common humanity, of talking about things like love and democracy, because that is so limited. I'm so wary of the kind of language that says that we need to think of ourselves as the same, because we're not the same. I will never fully understand the privilege of my own white skin, never fully understand all the things it's allowed me to have. The only way that we can meaningfully communicate with one another is through our differences, is understanding that because of the world we live in, we are made to be different. We are. And that is not a bad thing. That's talking about the interconnectedness and the intersectionality of our struggles and of our positionalities in the world. So I'm just grateful to Black Lives Matter for putting this on, and I don't really know what to say much. I just don't know how to think about, I don't know how to talk about something like this, and also what it means for me to talk about something like this here. But all I think I know is that it's important for white folks, for white passing folks, to ally themselves with people of color here in Virginia, all across the country, and yeah, so thank you for Black Lives Matter for being part of it.
Another speaker that'd like to share a few words?
Good afternoon, I'm Sharon Owens from the Southwest Community Center. Listen, I want to be very measured and very sober about what I'm talking about. We have got to flesh out fascist, racist, white supremacists. They are working next to you.
Yes.
They shop next to you. Their children go to school with you. Let's not be blind about this thing. Each and every one of us is responsible for fleshing out this garbage when we hear it and when we see it. Our eyes have to be clear and our ears attentive. And it is not subtly okay. It is not.
Okay, I'm right here.
And my last word, Syracuse.com, are you out here? Syracuse.com, are you out here?
Yeah,
you
right
don't
there.
provide the platform in Syracuse for that garbage. Every other local paper has a mechanism on their blog that you have to log in by a Facebook page or a Twitter account, so you have to be accountable for what you say. My name is Sharon Owens. Here is my face. I'm not hiding behind a mask. I'm not hiding behind a blog.
The death threats that we got last year were in the Syracuse.com comment section.
Yes.
And just to echo what you were saying, these are teachers, these are police officers. We need to hold them accountable. Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Before we keep going, we want to take a moment to bow our heads, to remember everyone who's lost their lives as a result of this fight. And we have people here that were marching at Selma and have been fighting this their entire lives. Let's take a moment to bow our heads. For Sandra Bland, for Philando Castile, for Heather Hare, for the endless litany of names that we have to remember. Most of us are here because we feel powerless, because we feel like we have no agency, because every couple of weeks our Facebook feed, our television screens are filled with dead bodies and we feel like we can't do anything about it. If we come together, we can demand no justice,
No peace.
no justice,
No peace.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Again, let's bow our heads and remember those that have died. Remember the women that died yesterday fighting for our civil rights. Remember the women that didn't have those civil rights and as a result were murdered. The children that were murdered. The children that are being tortured here in this city. Let's take a moment for Terry Maddox, who was shot in the back, whose murderer received an award here in this city. Everyone here that's wondering what they can do, how they can get involved. There are dozens of fights happening in this city right now. Dozens. Every one of you that sees a cop pull someone over, stop your car and record them. We need people engaged in court watches, because this isn't just about cops. It's about judges. It's about attorneys. It's about a system that takes advantage of the poor. If you want to help, cop watches, court watches, and it doesn't end there. Show up. Show up. Show up! Show up! Show up! Show up! Show up! Show up! Solidarity isn't one day, it isn't one weekend. It's every day.
Lifetime.
It's a lifetime of helping, and it isn't sympathy, it's solidarity. Right now, we have farm workers here in Syracuse that are fighting and looking for a place to live. They were offered one recently at Slocum House, and the people whose hearts were in the right place initially have pulled that back. Why? Because it wasn't solidarity. It was sympathy. It wasn't an understanding that everyone is on equal footing. They thought they were doing them a favor. If you stop for me and record the police officer that's recording me, I'll say thank you. But understand that your white privilege has given you things that I won't have. Be in solidarity with me, with us. And that's something that's hard to talk about. Privilege. It's something insidious, and honestly, every time I talk about it, we get messages on the page. People who are angry, who say, we're allies, we're not racist. I'm a racist. I'm a product of this country. When we look at Brown v. Board that desegregated our schools are not desegregated. No. But in Brown v. Board, there was the doll study. The doll study had 4- and 5-year-old black children asked to choose between two dolls, a black doll and a white doll. Which one is good? Which one is bad? Which one is ugly? Which one is beautiful? Even the black children chose the white doll as good, as beautiful. Why? Because they live in this country. If you are an ally, it doesn't mean you are not a racist. It means you are willing to check your racism, to check your privilege, that you are willing to stand in solidarity with us and show us that Black lives matter! 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 What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
And if we don't like that, shut it down!
We have another speaker, Reverend Edith Washington Woods, that'd like to share a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, as I was standing in the crowd, my heart started beating really loudly.
Louder!
My heart started beating really loudly as I stood in the crowd. And I knew that Spirit was saying I needed to get up and say something. You know, if you could imagine what it was like yesterday when people, clergy people, people who were supportive of who we are as a community, stood just like us. And then a 20-year-old drove their car into the crowd. I was thinking about, as I heard some loud cars going by, what if a car drove into us? And I could not
come up and say anything. And I get you don't know me, but you know me. You know me. I am you. You are me. A car could come right now. Boom. And that's it. It's not just Black Lives Matter. It's each and every one of us. Each and every one of us matters. Black, brown, yellow. But you know what? We're not black, brown, or yellow. Take one of those white pieces of paper and put it up against your hand. A black piece of paper and put it up on a black person's hand. We're not those colors. It's the colors we bought into. We are a conglomerate of people. There are more of us that believe in every life matters. There's more of us who know that individuals have the opportunity to love, to have harmony and peace, than there are of those squeaky damn wheels. Because it's just one squeaky wheel in the wheel, and the rest of the spokes are great. We're great. But you know what? We have to stop being afraid. We have to stop thinking that it's one group of people or another group of people. It's all of us. You know, there's a lot going on with saying that trans lives, you know, and remember the military? Lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgender folk. I know some of you out there.
Yes.
They're trying to say that none of us matter. None of us. They want all of us to get out. How about some Muslim people? How about some Jewish people? If you think about time, when you go back to when the Nazi, all of that happened in Germany, it happened like this. It was a small group of people, became a bigger group of people, and a larger group of people, and all of a sudden they had organized and they started killing people and putting them in ovens. That would be us. And it wouldn't be about whether you were white, black, brown, purple, or blue. We have to stop it and organize all of us. This is about all of us. Right now, and just blow us over, we'll be gone, just like heaven. We'll just be gone. Do you know it's that critical for us to come together? That's why I had to get up here. And I was afraid. I was afraid for my own self. And then I thought maybe I won't be able to speak and I'll have to leave. But that's not what I'm here for. That's not what we're here for. We're here because we're sick and tired of being discounted, of having people around us that say, you don't matter, whoever you are. We need to organize, folks, just like they did in the 50s and 60s, just like they did during the time of the wars around the world. Remember, apartheid is not that far from us in South Africa. We have to organize. We just have to. And come together and know that we're together and that we're not separate by our races and our religions and all of those kinds of things that we have, which is great here in America, right? Like we have the ability to worship wherever we want to. But how many of us here have some separate things we think about the LGBT community or about some spiritual community that we don't belong to? No, we say those things to ourselves. We gotta stop. And we got to look at what are we really here for? We're here to have honor and respect for everyone in this country. And that's it. So let's organize.
I was just talking about cop watches. Right here we have Cliff with the OGs against gun violence that would like to say a few words.
Thank you so much. Let me just say, right off the muscle, I'm very proud of what I see out here right now. It's showing solidarity. And it's time, you know, to echo the sentiments that's already been spoke on, for us to step up. So many times, we allow issues to separate us. And it's time, as human beings, that we step up to the plate and fight against this. And it's within every single race. You need to reach out to the ones that are doing it. There's ways to go about reaching out to those who have that hate in their heart. I understand. I faced the adversity. And I had to learn to take that hate out of my heart. I had to learn to embrace love and what that represents as a human being. I'm so proud of what I see out here because I see all different races out here standing as one. Yes, give yourself a round of applause, definitely. Understand something. You're showing the world right now that everybody's life matters. And I understand the Black Lives Matter and all lives matter, but we all have to step up to the plate. The bottom line, no more divisions. Let's stand up together. It's time. I'm sick and tired of the racists doing what they do. Every single person step up to the plate and show the world. No longer will we tolerate. That's what you saw in Virginia. You saw people stepping up to the plate and fighting against it. And if they was out here right now, we'd be doing the same thing. We'd be standing up. Okay? I understand, my position in that fight. And I go out and I practice that every single day. I get along with you, I get along with you, I get along with you, I get along with you. It doesn't matter. We all have to get along. Stand up and continue to keep fighting. It's deeper than any one of us can ever imagine. But we have to get within the root of it, which means we have to reach out to that racist and we have to show them a better way. We have to. That's the bottom line. We have to go after them and teach them and show them. We can't back down. No more backing down or hiding what we feel. I stand for what I feel. I stand for what I represent. And that's what we have to do. I just want to say thank you so much for everybody who came out here today to show this love and solidarity. And I'm very proud of you. And continue to fight and do what you do as a community. Thank you.
A few weeks ago, a fellow organizer took her own life. Sequoia Kemp is going to come share a few words about her.
Right.
So I'll be honest and say that I almost didn't come today because I'm tired. I'm tired of constantly having to do this, constantly having to tell people that, why people shouldn't be killed. I think this is common sense, but clearly it's not. So I'm thinking about Black women who think we don't know, who have been killed, who have been assaulted, whose children have been left behind, Korean Games. I'm thinking about people who have been violated and we don't even know their names. But we know of our Black male counterparts. And I'm thinking about my friend Jenny, who dedicated every day of her life to seeking justice. And had I not come, I feel like I would have been doing her a disservice because of the love she put out into this world that she didn't even get returned back to her. That's how she felt. And that we as people can create a society where people don't even want to be here anymore. That's sick. And we have to live with that because that's how we make people, that's how people feel. Organizers, people who come out and march and organize and give so much of their time and life to these movements, and we don't even sometimes feel the love that we put out. That's not okay. I don't care about you feeling good that you're here. You better be here. You should be here.
Yes.
Because I'm tired of being here. And so we talk about how people are killed by police officers, and we don't talk about how these mentalities, how racism is deadly. How a racist
stereotype can end my life when I'm not doing anything. With misogyny, it is deadly. Transphobia is deadly. These things that we say, oh, we're just raised this way, this is how I was raised to believe. No, that belief is deadly. It can cost us our lives. So it's not about sitting here working through agreeing and disagreeing. No, you're not a disagreeing on my humanity.
Right.
It's nothing to disagree about. And Jenny, she was a poet, she was a radical, she was a feminist, she was a communist, and she wore those things boldly. And she had the right to do so. And so we can't be afraid to speak out, because at the end of the day, you speaking out can save someone's life. You stepping in can save someone's life. And at the end of the day, these things cost us our lives. They take years of stress, takes years off people's lives. And we have to understand that these ideas, these disagreements, no, this is life or death for many of us. No matter what your identity is, it's life or death. And so if you're for life, if you're for sustaining and fighting for justice, then challenge these ideas, speak out, and every day. Because I'm tired. I'm talking to y'all. I'm not talking to me. I'm talking to y'all who don't have to deal with racism, who might not have to deal with transphobia or homophobia. I'm talking about the people who don't deal with certain oppression. You got to speak out for the other ones who dealing with it. Because I'm tired. And I fully respect my friend's decision, because that was her choice. And I hope she found the peace that she found, because it's hard to find in this world. It feels like this is nice to see everyone out here, but I know what it's like to have people around you and not still feel love. And so whatever it is that you go out, think about that people don't even want to be here anymore. And that's because of us as human beings in this country and in this world. Thank you.
In Jenny's goodbye letter, she said, racist, homophobic white patriarchy, it's a killer. She was a queer black woman, and this world killed her for it. We have another speaker who's been an organizer here in Syracuse forever. His name is Walt Dixie. Please come up, sir.
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
All right, so I'm going to make this quick, because I wasn't going to speak today. First of all, I love these folks back here, because they're holding it down. The folks who do it 30, 40 years, I always tell folks, every generation has to step out each decade, and it's recyclable, so there's hope. As a Bernie delegate, and traveling around the East Coast with them, I see the young people and their hunger. What we have to do is not trying to take it over the organic movement. It has to be their movement. We need to compromise this. But I'm going to send a message to our public officials, our candidates. It's time to step up. Be an example of the mayor of Charlottesville, how he talked today. Be progressive. Unions. The unions are our friends, and sometimes they're our enemies, because it's within the union ranks they have lost the spirit. And so they got to get back to the table and be a part of these movements. The faith-based community, they got to be a part of this movement. When I was watching television, you know what bothered me more? I didn't see a lot of us fighting that fight against all odds. That was Custer. These folks were standing, there was not a lot of them compared to the organized. That can never happen again. We need to send Syracuse. So the message is that a deacon, a minister, you got to talk to them. They got to organize within their churches. The unions can't sit in there and be cool, and then on election day they want to come out and vote. Now we're your friend of convenience. You got to be here, like you said, every week. It's your time. You pay this way. And so from that, I leave here, Reverend Al Sharpton is doing a rally the 28th. He's challenging 1,000 ministers to step it up. So we need to be supportive of that. But I'm going to invite you folks on, I think, August 20th, next Sunday, Jubilee Home. I put my Jubilee Home hat. We do a showcase Sunday at the Jubilee Park, 100 blocks of South Ave. We have bands organized, and Maria Maladona coordinates this. But we need to educate our neighborhood on this message that's here. We need to bring you so they can see folks like you fighting for us and with us. So from 4 to 7, And we're going to give Black Lives Matter the platform a half hour during the halftime between the bands. Let's get this party started. Fired up! Ready to go.
So, the day's almost over, but out here in this crowd, I see a lot of people running for office. I do. Now, if you're running for office and you're here because you want to show that you're going to fight for change, then I call you to actually engage in that fight. We have very real demands. Right here, right now, if you're willing to promise to get that contract between the city and the police department and make it public, we'd love to hear that. Right now, these police officers are entitled to this progressive discipline policy. That means they assault one woman, they get a slap on the wrist, they stay cops. No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
No peace!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
Right now! When a police officer assaults a civilian and that civilian goes to the CRB, that civilian's name is made public and that police officer's name is kept secret.
It ain't right!
That's the city that we live in. That's where we're at. Right here in Syracuse. How many times this year? 3 times this year. We've had mothers of high school students come to us because their high school, their 9th graders, have been assaulted by police officers. Broken arms, broken wrists. A child, a 9th grader on the spectrum, had his wrist broken by a cop, an ex-Marine.
That ain't right.
Honestly, we have a lot of attorneys here today, legal observers. Can't find an attorney to represent these people. Why? There's no money in it. There's no justice in it. Black lives
matter!
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 The issue here is not whether or not this system is racist. That's a fact.
Speak on it.
What are we going to do about it?
Stand up.
With the same criminal history, for the same crimes, black people are spending more time in jail.
Justice, please.
You know this. You can't escape it. If you are a Caucasian person, you know what drug use is like within your community. You know what percentage of your kids are using drugs, right? How many of these kids are smoking weed? How many of them are getting arrested for it? Our children are getting arrested for it. Our children are being criminalized. If you're worried about criminals, if you're looking for rapists, if you're looking for drug users, I'll take you right down to SU and show you the frat houses.
Justice!
Do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
This fight for justice didn't start today. It didn't start last year or a decade ago or 100 years ago. We have another speaker who'd like to share a few words from the Onondaga community here.
Hi, my name is Cindy Squillace, and I'm not Onondagan. I am a neighbor of the Onondaga Nation. And as I hear everybody, I just returned from the Seeds of Peace camp with 160 young people of all different ethnicities, new Americans, learning to get along together. We came home today and they got their phones back today after 2 weeks. And this is what they heard, and my heart, is just so heavy from that. And then I come and I stand and I'm supporting all of this, but I don't hear the words and the understanding of what our Onondaga friends and neighbors have also experienced. So just briefly, I just needed to bring their name and their being into our presence here. Thank you.
Father Fred Daly from All Saints would also like to say a few words.
Brothers and sisters, it gives me great hope to see this circle of sisters and brothers here today, because the horror that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia yesterday was a logical consequence of the cycle of violence. That ignorance, absolute ignorance, leads to fear, and fear leads to hatred, and hatred leads to violence. And the evil that we've experienced in the last 24 hours has been fed by a president and an administration that feeds racism, that feeds polarization, that feeds hatred. And so we gather today, but we all need to gather at the voting booth. This year, and next year, and 2020. Because the resistance to this evil across the country we haven't seen in many, many years. But if we stick together, we all know that ultimately, love trumps hate. Thank you.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
No Trump,
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. 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 No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
Now, a few moments ago, someone from the Muslim community here in Syracuse wanted to share a few words. He declined, but what I will say is this. There are undocumented people here right now in this crowd who knew there would be police officers here but came out in solidarity anyways. That is in the spirit of abolition that we want to fight for. No Trump!
No KKK, no fascist USA.
No Trump!
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
No Trump!
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. 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 No Trump.
We are unstoppable.
Yes. Yes.
Another world is possible.
Yes.
Again, I want to sincerely thank and all the organizations that came together to make this possible. I want to thank you, but I also want to thank all of you for showing up. We did this on just a few hours' notice. Next time, it won't be 100, 200, it'll be 1,000, 2,000. Please, we have sign-up sheets going around. The page, Black Lives Matter Syracuse. Like the page, pay attention to what's going on, and continue this fight. Stay vigilant. We need you.
Get his ass out of office.
Again, thank you so much. We have free waters. If anyone's thirsty, just come over here, grab a water bottle on your way home.
Is everything okay? Hi, sorry. Is everything okay? It seems familiar. That's something else planned.
I'd like to have things prepared, and I didn't have anything prepared. So. Nice crowd.